The next problems want us to write in rectangular form. So we have polar form of an equation. So we just want to have it in rectangular form. So number 8 is 6 times the cosine of pi over 3 plus I times the sine of pi over 3. And so the cosine of pi over 3 is 1/2, and the sine of pi over 3 is the square root of 3 over 2. So I have 6 times 1/2 plus 6 times I times the square root of 3 over 2. And simplifying that, I get 3 plus 3I square root of 3. So that would be the answer to number 8. Let's go on to number 9. You have the square root of 21 out on the outside, and then you have cosine 7 pi over 6 plus I sine 7 pi over 6. Now 7 pi over 6 is in the third quadrant, so both things are negative. This would be negative square root of 3 over 2, and this would be negative 1/2. So I have square root of 21 times negative square root of 3 over 2 plus square root of 21 times I and negative 1/2. So this becomes this negative square root of, now look, I'm going to do this to 21 times the square root of 3 all over 2. And I'll show you why. That becomes negative, and that's 3 times 7, right, times 3. If I gotta put up, well, I skipped a step. I'm just trying to show you, and maybe in pre-cal you don't need this, but I like to make sure you do it this way. It would be 21 times 3 under there, right, over 2. And then negative square root of 3 times 7 times 3. So guess what? I can pull out a 3. So negative 3 square root of 7, that's not a 7, over 2 would be my first number. Now, that's kind of how I want you to do it. I don't want you to have to multiply it out and then try to simplify it. It's easier just to write it out in its factors. So I don't think that's going to happen to the next one. It would be negative 1/2 I square root of 21. So we would say, let's make it negative square root of 21 over 2I. Can't do anything else with that. So negative square root of 21 over 2I. So that's your answer for number 8. Negative 3 square root of 7 over 2 minus the square root of 21 over 2I. And one last problem. Number 10. We have a 4 on the outside, and we have the cosine of pi over 2 plus I, the sine of pi over 2. Let's see if I can get these unit circle ones right. So cosine of pi over 2 is 0, and sine of pi over 2 is 1. So we have 4 times 0 plus 4 times I times 1. So that's just equal to 4I. So that's your answer, and that's your homework for today.